Hello kids and welcome back to another week of Kids Club. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I hope you've had a good and blessed week and I'm very excited to share today's message with you. So today we are talking about a little something called optimism. Now that sounds like a very big word, but in other words it means positivity or looking for a good thing in a bad situation. Now I don't know about you, but something that makes me think of choosing happiness or positivity is the color yellow, and that's why I'm wearing yellow today. Now, optimism and even positivity are very big words, and if you still don't quite understand what they mean, don't worry because I have a very nice example for you. So here we have half a glass of water. Now, a pessimist would be someone who thinks of the glass as half empty, but being positive or an optimist, you would see the glass as half full, because even though you only have half a glass of water, it is half full. That is what it means to be positive or an optimist. Now I'm going to read you a little story about a girl named Maddie who had a very bad day. But let's see if Maddie can find the positive in her day. And the story is called, What's There to Be Happy About? Maddie stomped into the house, threw her books down on the couch and slumped inside. What a day! She had done the wrong homework for her first class and she worked so hard on it just for the teacher to say, you should pay more attention. And everyone heard it. Things went downhill. Michael, who sat behind her, kept pushing her books off the desk. She got so upset that she rolled up a workbook and hit him on the head with it. The teacher saw her, but not him, and she got detention. One of her tackies went missing from her school bag, and she had to sit down in gym while they played her favorite sport, netball. Her history test had actually been an essay. She was predicting it would be a multiple choice test. Then the teacher took 10 whole points off for spelling. Lastly, her mom's car died on her way to pick Maddie up. By the time she messaged Maddie, the school bus had already left. She walked home and now has blisters on her feet. This is a terrible day, Maddie thought. And then she thought she heard a second voice. It was more powerful though, and it was quieter, and it said, all things work together for the good of those who believe. She rolled her eyes. Her mom quoted Bible verses a lot, and sometimes they ran through her head when she didn't really want to hear them. How could this day possibly work out for anyone's good, she wondered as she sat rubbing her blisters. It wasn't easy to think positively, but Maddie guessed it could be better than sitting there and complaining. Doing the wrong assignment in the first period last night meant that she wouldn't have to redo the assignment the next day, and she had time off. That was something good. As for Michael, she'd been telling herself since forever that she needed to tell the teachers about him, but she didn't want to tattletale. Now she'd been pushed too far enough to see how silly she was being. Tomorrow she would tell him and put a stop to him. Missing netball was a heartbreaker, but now every single time she'll check her sports bag to make sure both her tackies are still in there. Maddie was very worried about her marks. She hated seeing those big misspelled words circled, especially on a test that wasn't even English. But she realized that she knew the correct spelling and that it was running through her head, the exact spelling that the teacher had written on the board. Well, those are 10 words I now know how to spell, she mused. When was the last time I learned 10 words in a day? Her mom came in the house stomping and slamming the door. The car repair will cost me 1,400 rand. That's an entire works week for me. Maddie could see her mom starting to cry and said quickly, hey, you didn't get hurt and neither did I because we never got into the car. See how this little story can show us how we can look for the positive things in our day or in a bad situation. Boys and girls, let's get our Bibles out and let's look at some Bible verses about choosing positivity or being an optimist. Our first verse is James chapter 1 verse 2. And it says, count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Maddie is learning to persevere. Even though it is a bad situation and she may not immediately see the good things that may come out of it, just remember that God doesn't put us in a situation if there isn't going to be a good reason for it. Now we are going to go to Philippians 4 verse 4, which reads, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Now we're going to go back to our Bibles. So get your Bibles out and we are going to go to Romans chapter 8 verse 28. And it says, And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for the good. Now, boys and girls, I have some questions for you. The first question is, think of a situation that was really scary for you and what good came out of it. Now we're going to look at Philippians chapter 4, verse 11 to 13. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. Now, my next question is to think of a situation that you don't particularly like being in. Or, for example, a class that you don't like being in. For me, that was always maths. Now I want you to think of how this can actually be brought to good. And our final verse is from Joshua chapter 1 verse 9. And it says, Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Now, a lot of the times we don't do things because we are fearful or scared of doing it. My last question for you is, if fear was not an issue, what would you be doing or what would you do that you are not currently doing? Optimism gives you the chance to make a choice, to choose happiness and not sadness. It really makes you think about how a situation can benefit you, and that's why God allows it. In life, optimism will always beat pessimism, or basically, seeing the glass as half full will always beat seeing the glass as half empty, because this boosts our spirits rather than making us feel trapped. Now, this week I want you to try something, and hopefully you can even do it for a month, to always look for the good or the optimism in a trying or terrifying situation you are facing. If you do this, we can get into the habit of looking for the good things in our days, which will turn life into a wonderful and optimistic journey, rather than making us feel trapped and pessimistic and down. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me this week to learn more about optimism or seeing the glass as half full. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I can't wait to see you guys next week again. Enjoy your week. Goodbye.